So what we've got here is the rear cover of the Cobra, and we are going to be scuffing this bumper down, removing impurities, imperfections, and any other defects. We're going to be using scuff stuff with a red scuffing pad, a Scotch-Brite pad, and we're going to thoroughly scuff this entire bumper down to prepare it for repair, priming, base coat, and clear coat. It's important to remember that the scuffing step is not necessarily the step that you want to rely on for proper paint adhesion. You're definitely going to want to hit the bumper with something more aggressive after you do the repairs. That way you know the base coat is going to stick appropriately to the bumper cover. This is just to remove any silicones, oils, greases, waxes, and tar, anything that's stuck in the paint. You can clay it if you want beforehand, but this will essentially take care of everything. The scuff stuff allows for a nice even finish. All right, so once we're done with the scuffing step, we still have these cracks to deal with over here. So we're gonna get the DA sander and we're gonna level all this out and reprime the affected area. Okay, so the next step is we're going to take our pneumatic DA sander with some 400 grit dry paper, and we're going to take care of all these cracks and damage in the clear coat and base coat, level it off, and then we are going to prime it. Yes, I do see that my paper is not even on the backing plate, but that's okay. It still works exactly as I need it to. It's going to take a little bit of time to get these things leveled out. I didn't want to aggressively rip through and hit the plastic. I didn't want an uneven surface. I wanted to be able to just fill it with a few coats of primer and wet sand it and be ready for the base coat. All right, so that's what we're left with. We leveled down all the failed areas. There's still a little bit of cracking right there, but we'll see what the primer does. But it's nice and smooth now. You can't really feel any texture anymore. So now we're gonna prime it. We're using SEM black primer. This stuff is amazing. It's really good at filling, really good at even coverage. Works really good in the cold too. But if you want to make it spray a little bit more evenly, you can take a blowtorch and heat up the can from the bottom very slowly. You don't want it too hot. You just want it nice and warm. But we didn't have to do that today because the can was left out in the sun for a little bit to warm up. And we're going to put on probably about 4 coats in the affected area. And then you'll see later that I decided to do the entire top of the bumper because it is kind of sun-scorched. So, and I may end up doing the entire bumper, but usually I only do the affected areas where I've sanded. All right, so the primer coat on the top of the bumper is dry. I did the whole top because it's sun scorched, so I went and finished sanding the whole top of this and primed it, and then we're gonna wet sand it with some with a gray pad and some soapy water to get it smoothed out and blended into the bottom piece, and then we'll be ready for the base coat. So we're all done throwing our 4 coats of base. I just used the whole can. We're gonna let this dry for about an hour. And then we're gonna get our Spray Max 2K and use that whole can on this bumper. All right, so we're gonna be clear coating this now. We've already popped the hardener. I'm just gonna tack rag the panel real quick. Just a little bit. That's enough in there to make a lot of dust nibs. Now, if you don't do a dust coat, what ends up happening is if you go too heavy first, you can end up with a lot of runs. So you want to be careful, especially when using these cans. You don't want to go too heavy at first. You want to allow like 5 minutes between each coat. Now we're going to go in for a medium coat. So we're gonna do our final heavy coat. Now that we have it all painted, we're gonna put it under the lights. Tomorrow, we got a little run right there. It's actually right here. We'll take that run out, and there's like 3 or 4 noticeable dust nibs to be expected in this environment. We'll sand the whole thing down, polish it, make it look nice and uniform, and then slap it back on the car. Bumper's been reinstalled and sanded with 1500 and 3000. And then we're gonna buff it out and show you guys what it looks like after.